Good afternoon. This is the coaching game. I'm Laurie Lawson, and look who's here.
Yoffe, coaches creating change. Here
Yeah,
we are.
here we are once again. Hallelujah. And ironically, we decided we're going to talk about change today.
I was just going to say creating change. And, I'm going to start with a quote that I've said before on the show, but I think it's just so relevant today by the retired U.S. Army General Eric Shinseki. And his quote, if you don't like change, you're going to hate irrelevance even more. Appropriate is that for where we're at?
I think that is so perfect. What does that mean to you?
It means that, we've been talking about change a lot because change has been occurring. There's the new VUCA world of, volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous world of business or just world in general.
Mhm.
And one has to change their mindset. They may not want to change how they dress, or they might not want to change, you know, that. But it's a growth mindset. It's a resilient, it's a flexible mindset. And if we emphasized it before, it's even more so now that things
Yeah.
have changed. And that's what we can certainly go into today. That's what it means to me.
It's interesting because you're right. Things have changed. And now we're getting ready to go back. I don't know what that means, go back to what, but we certainly went through some changes last year, forced. A lot of them were forced, and a lot of them turned out to be beneficial. Some of them were harder than others to make. But now I think what we're talking about is, all right, we've learned that we can adapt, and now it's like, what do we hold on to, what do we give away, and what do we adapt to our environment. And that, I think, is where almost everybody is right now, at least in the United States. I can't speak for around the world, but
I
so
We're in a place of I don't know, I'm not sure. I don't know what it's going to look like. But I think when we talk about going back, it's not going back. It's it's returning to perhaps an office, maybe not. That's another change. What is that going to look like? Where's the challenges? I think people are eager on some level to go back to an office. Maybe it's not full time, maybe it's hybrid. And yet some people want to work from home. So that's, right there, ambiguity, I think is a great word. Going back to, I think returning and renewing and looking forward to how do we shape where what's next when we don't see, Martin Luther King about taking the first step without seeing the staircase.
yeah, taking the leap, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
We can't see the staircase. And I think everyone is there and it's very uncomfortable. We are creatures of habit. We are creatures of keeping things the same. Change requires shift.
It requires shift, and it's interesting because I think there are two facets. Maybe we should deal with individual change first on a personal level, but it's like, can you imagine the difficulty that leaders and managers are going to have with all this ambiguity, as you say? Yeah, I liked working from home, or yeah, I hated working from home. Vaccination, do I get it? Don't I get it? Just all kinds of things. But let's deal with the personal level first. It's like, what is the biggest change that you saw your clients having to make in the last year?
For me, like everybody, clients got jobs, um, clients got new positions. They were in a company and they had to speak up to get to the new position they wanted, but the company wasn't sure if they were eligible or good enough for the job. So I think clients like us are unsure. Some even question, do I even have a job? Is my company going to be in business?
Right.
Um, and how are my leaders going to show up? The people I work for, what's the environment going to be like? Am I going to be fired? Um, so all of that was on the table. I do think that for many people, including my clients, probably most, this was a year of opportunity, which might sound, what? Opportunity? Are you crazy?
Mhm.
A chance to look inside in the isolation and
Mhm.
to figure out what was really important. There's been a lot of writing about YOLO, you only live once, that people
Right.
have reevaluated. Maybe they don't want to spend the time climbing that ladder. Maybe, the rainbow isn't exactly what they wanted or thought it would be. So it's a shift.
It's a shift. It's interesting that you mentioned isolation because I found that to be a huge problem, at least in the beginning when the lockdown started. It was like, oh my God, I have to be by myself, or oh my God, I have to be with my family. What am I doing? Work is a lovely distraction, and a way to focus your energy. And it's like, oh, the merry-go-round stopped. Now what am I going to do? So I found isolation was a big problem. I also found connectivity a big problem. It's like, well, how do I connect if I can't go into the office, or how do I connect if I can't run around the corner and see a neighbor, or so it was isolation, connectivity, um, and I think you mentioned it also, fear. It's like a fear of one, am I going to get sick? Am I taking the best care I can of myself? What do I do if I need a doctor? Do I want to go to the hospital? Just all that crazy medical stuff. And then also fear of, what are the rules? What do I have a job? Like you said, it's like, what it's like the rug was pulled out, and it's like, okay, I don't know where to step next because I'm not sure. I thought I had this all planned out, and it's like planning went to hell. There's no point in planning right now. It's like adaptivity was the name of the game. So those were the initial things that I found like, whoa, and I was feeling them too. So it's like that's what makes coaching so difficult, because you're human too, and it's like, whoa, what's going on here? I mean, luckily you and I, we work independently, so that we didn't have that problem. But um, it's I just found that it was very difficult.
Um, you know, for me, I found walking.
Mm.
I walked 3, 4, 5 miles a day. That was a way of connecting with myself. I found cooking, something I had never done. I started cooking because everything was closed, and that was how we ate. So I found the isolation in a way not not difficult for me at all. We connect with clients, so we were speaking. You and I connected on Zoom. I did webinars and Zoom calls where there were people of like-mindedness. And I had a chance to reevaluate myself and look deep within myself. Is that philosophical, esoteric? Maybe. Yet, in a way, I find, again, this is personal, the more I know about myself, the better the coach I am. And I loved walking with no cars and no people. And now you go out and it's back to the hustle bustle.
I know.
Hikes.
The traffic, it's
I don't think there's no right or wrong or good or bad here. I think everyone got their own experience. Whatever I got, you may not have got, or any of my clients might not have gotten. I think this was a time of reflection. If you took the time
right.
to really evaluate or reevaluate your core values, what's really important here? Are the people in my life that I'm struggling with important, or can I let them go? And if I let them go, what does that mean to me? So I do think it was challenging, if anything. It was challenging. And as coaches, I think now, if as a coach, I spent the time really looking at myself. What might I offer clients that's more in depth, that's more available, that can help them in where they're going and what their needs might be?
So interesting, because I think you're right. I think our coaching is ready, just like it was when the lockdown came and there was an onsurge. And we were very fortunate because coaches were definitely needed. And there was an onsurge of, oh my God, what am I going to do? How do I adjust? And now I think we're back to, there are people who, like you said, realize, I might be one of them, that they really kind of liked the slowdown. They liked they like the isolation. They like the opportunity to reflect because it's just not the hustle bustle. And it's now I think we're going to probably go into how do we get back into the flow without giving up some of the really cool things that we found during this time when we were either with ourselves or with our families, or just slower. How do we go back into the flow? And I think that's probably where our coaching is going to be heading in the next couple of months.
So what does that mean for you, in the flow?
In the flow means, okay, there will be more sources of entertainment. I'm in Times Square, so everybody's anxiously awaiting
The theater?
opening of theater. Yeah, there will be more opportunities to go out. There will be more opportunities to connect with friends. Like you said, are these friends, I don't want to say worthy, are these friends a good use of time? A good use of time. That's a good way to put that. And there will be more opportunities to connect with family. We'll be traveling. And that to get into that flow, do we want to travel? Do we want to be on a plane? Where do we want to go? How important is it? I went on what I called a vacation in May, and I went, a vacation from what? I mean, what was I taking? I was changing locations, but basically I was doing the same thing. So it's like, how do you get back into that? I hope it isn't a hustle bustle, but my gosh, we're in New York City, so there's a great possibility it will be. But that's what that means to me. It's just like the normal, well, I can't say normal, there are no normal anymore. Just like the enhanced activities and connectivity possibilities and opportunities that weren't there before. Places are opening, new places are opening. Do you venture out? Do you stay home? Do you mix it? How do you do that? That the flow to me is like, do you go where the other people go, or do you create your own path, I guess?
And I think that, so little history of me, I did years ago, here I am, a New York City person on my own. I had just started studying Buddhism. I went on a Buddhist retreat, didn't know much about it, got on a plane to New Mexico, got on a bus to the San Cristobal Mountains. I slept in a bus on a slab with a sleeping bag. And it was a week of silence. It was a silent Buddhist retreat. Rustic wouldn't even begin to describe it. Very rustic. Yet I adapted. You know, they got you up at 4:30 to meditate. You had breakfast, you had lunch, there was very little dinner, and you went to bed early and no talking. You listened in the evening, you listened to the speakers. It was so eye-opening. And then, you know, I came home and I saw the world differently.
Wow.
Like if you know, mountains are mountains and rivers are rivers until you're able to know that mountains become mountains and rivers become rivers. You know, you go to a top of a mountain and you see out and you look out and you listen. And I really, that experience was what guided me in the year of being alone. That we can come back, we can be in the world, but not of the world. Meaning, yes, we're back to the hustle bustle, but we don't have to be part of it. We can carve out our own way of being so we don't get caught up in that. And I think for me, that goes for right across, you know, boundaries. I don't have to put up with the things I did, the people that I let go of, who I cared about tremendously and deeply, but there was no reciprocation and I was holding on. I let go. You know, clients, how I coach. So that's what I got out of this. And we can come back to whatever is there, but in a lot of ways, people will be looking at it differently.
That's a good point, because if you're expecting to connect with someone that you didn't connect with for a year, they've gone through so many changes just like we have. You have no idea. It's going to be a brand new dance, I guess, or at least it's going to be a starter dance just to see how that goes. That's a good point.
It's a new dance. I think some of the steps might be old. You know, the music,
right.
I don't know what it'll be. We get to choose. It's about choice. How do we want to come down from that mountain that year and do something differently? At work, you know, leaders, the emphasis will be on empathy, will be on emotional intelligence, will be on caring for their employees.
Okay.
That's what will be wanted and needed as employees. You know, do you want to have hybrid? Will your company allow it? Are you willing to speak up and ask?
Yeah, and like I said, I don't envy leaders and managements. I don't envy that today, because you're putting together a group of very diverse people who've had very diverse experiences, which was always the case. But now we're all aware of it because we've all had that experience. We've all had one experience or another. A lot of sadness, a lot of
Loss.
Yeah, a lot of loss. And I don't know how you come back. Or hopefully you were in the game the whole time. But I don't know. As a leader, I think emotional intelligence is going to be at the top of the requirements. You know, no longer, I'm not sure. Bottom line is going to be there, but I'm not sure that should be the top priority at this point. I think it should be assembling teams and using whatever learning experiences took place during the last year to enhance your company or your organization or something. I don't envy that. I don't envy that.
And leaders also have to rethink, what are we doing here? You know, how do we want to proceed? Do we want to do something differently? Do we want to make a right turn instead of staying on course? Do we want to take a left turn? Obviously, businesses have to thrive, or else they don't survive. but it's how they do it moving forward. What's going to, a lot of companies have people I know, they've closed their offices. People are going to be working from home. They've realized they don't need to pay all that real estate.
Right. And then so they have the challenge of how do you keep teams together when they're all over the world, all over the United States at least. You can work from anywhere now. Thank God for Zoom and computers and phones and things like that. So
I mean, my daughter and her boyfriend, they work for a company where they've been working from home for years. They hold, video conferencing and now Zoom and teleconferencing all over the world.
yeah.
So this was not new for them.
That's interesting because it broadens your horizons, which is a cliche, so to speak, but it really does make it possible to interact with so many people all over the place, and that's internationally. I've found that with on Zoom. I've had some great connections with people that are in time zones that are 7 hours ahead of me. It's like it's all possible now. So I think that's an interesting way to look at it. It's like not what are the disadvantages, but what are the possibilities. Now that we know that nothing is constant. The only thing constant is change. So yeah, what are the possibilities?
There's many, and I think that's to be determined by each organization. It's building, possibly having a roadmap and shifting it, changing it, building a new roadmap. As I said, a lot of companies found I can do work without office space. What do I need to spend that kind of money? And that will be unfortunate for big cities where the real estate market, commercial real estate, will flounder. Or they don't need 12 floors. Maybe they need 2 floors.
Yeah.
Or they have people come in hybrid, come in 2 days a week. This group come in 2 days. This week, this group 3, Yes, people do want to get back to working with other people, connecting. So how do you do that and still maybe close offices? How do you do that by having part-time, hybrid effects? I don't have those answers. I don't think anybody does. I think the next year or so will determine where we move forward. But, change is about being flexible. It's about being resilient. It's about being willing to give up your position on something and look at options and possibilities for yourself and for people you work with.
I think one step is and take it from what individuals had to do is maybe redefine your goals and make sure that this is really what you want to do. But also there's a humanity aspect. I was very proud of New York City through this whole thing. We did our thing. I mean, we were hit the first and we were hit the biggest. But there were people out there wearing masks. There were people out there who didn't go out. There were people who, it was all there was while there was isolation, there was a connectivity to mankind and womankind, that it was like, we're all in this together now. And I know that became a cliche thing, but we really were. And it's like, wow, I always realize that in New York City when I live in a place with 45 floors of apartments, how interdependent how interdependent we are on people and for our daily existence. And this just brought that to the forefront. And hopefully when you talk about organizations and companies, they're going to realize, and I hope it remains, because they immediately deem people essential workers. We've got essential workers here and they've got to go to work. And I hope they remember that, because these people are essential and we're all essential, but there are people who we just took for granted for so long. And so now hopefully companies are going to go, wow, you know what? I need you, and I want to make sure that you get what you need. So I hope that's a lesson. I hope that's one of the first steps that all companies take care of. And I know there's a lot to take care of,
There's a lot to, and even though we were all in this, we weren't all in it in the same ways.
Right,
You
right.
know, people suffered a great deal through something like this. You and I and many people I know were fortunate. We had groceries. I had everything I needed. I didn't worry about food or where I was going to live or rent or doing. But there were many people that were not as fortunate
Yeah.
as us and, needed, it's so we while we all had the issues, we weren't all in this the same way.
Excellent point. Excellent point. And again, that goes back to experiences. My experience wasn't like yours, and it certainly wasn't like someone who had lost their job or got evicted or
Lost a loved one.
yeah, yeah. It was, and I hope that opened us up, and I hope we don't forget. And I haven't so far, and I like that things are coming back slowly. That it's because it gives you a chance to go, remember that you had this compassion before. Let's try to keep it now. Um, Especially in the times that we live in, it's so easy to switch over and get mad at somebody. You don't think like I do? Okay, then I'm cutting you out, But it's like we all had compassion for each other, and we all knew, wow, we are very vulnerable. There's strength in unity, so let's get it together. And
right, that's a great word. We at this juncture, everyone is vulnerable.
yeah,
feeling it. There is no, dancing on shifting sands. There is just
I love that blog that you wrote. Absolutely.
no one knows. We're all in how we move forward. And I think we each, through our experience, carve out our own way of being. And I think we can impart that to our clients and help them figure out how to navigate their new reality, whether they're an entrepreneur or they're in a company, and we can all thrive.
Yeah, and I think because we're almost at the end of the show, I think one thing that we came out with is that change doesn't have to be bad. Change can be so
Not at all.
fantastic. And our goal is to, as coaches, to help people realize that. And our goal as individuals is to keep reminding ourselves that change is a positive aspect many, many times.
That's why we're coaches creating change.
That's it. And we will be back next month. So
take care.
Yoffe, I bow to your wisdom. Thank you very much for sharing.
You're very welcome, Laurie Lawson. Big hug, and we will see you soon.
Yes, we will.
Take care,
Bye-bye.
my dear.